Welcome to another episode of the Untitled American Football Show. I'm your host, as always, Peter Brads, and on this edition, we are going to be looking at the divisional round games that took place last weekend, as well as previewing the upcoming Conference Championship matchups this coming Sunday. Firstly, we will look at the AFC Divisional games, looking firstly at the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens game that took place. Looking at the scoring side of things, it's all the Bills taking a 3-0 lead in the first quarter. That was courtesy of a 28-yard Tyler Bass field goal. In the second, it's all the Ravens tying things up with a Justin Tucker 34-yarder to make it 3-3, in which it seemed to be pretty much a defensive battle of sorts in the opening half hour. Moving to the third quarter of things, and it saw Stefon Diggs claiming a 3-yard catch off the throwing of Josh Allen to make it 10-3 to the Bills. And then saw later on Taron Johnson claiming a catch in the end zone, but from his own end zone, and running it back for an incredible 101-yard interception to put the Bills firmly in charge. So that made it 17-3 at that point. Then things kind of unravelled for the Ravens, in truth. As the second play of the following drive saw just everything going wrong for the Ravens. So the ball got snapped, ball got fumbled, Lamar Jackson picked up the loose ball, tried to make a play, ended up throwing it, just trying to get rid of it, got called for intentional grounding, and if that wasn't bad enough, he then got driven into his own end zone and sadly sustained a concussion which ruled him out for the rest of the game. Pretty much from that point onwards, the Ravens had no response in the game. Baltimore just struggled to get anything going, in all fairness, on offense. The Bills did well to kind of limit what the Ravens were doing. However, I said that the Bills haven't been at their best, I suppose you could say, in the last couple of playoff games. But it could also be slight anxiety heading into the playoffs, being as they were put up there as one of the top teams. So maybe they're trying to deal with the pressure that comes with that, or maybe they're just coming to the end of their hot streak. We don't really know, but they'll definitely be tested this coming Sunday. So, with the Bills making their first AFC Championship appearance since 1993, who would their opponents be on Sunday? Well, it would be either that of Baker Mayfield's Cleveland Browns, or it would be that of Patrick Mahomes' reigning and defending Super Bowl champions in the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, let's have a look at the game stats. So, we had Patrick Mahomes going in for an early score of sorts. as he scored in a 1-yard run to put the Chiefs 6 ahead with a missed point after. Cleveland then got on the board with a field goal courtesy of Cody Parkey from 46 yards out. Second quarter then saw pretty much domination by the Chiefs, and at that point in time was almost trying to take the game away from the Browns. As first off, a 20-yard pass to Travis Kelce saw him going in for a touchdown. That made it 13-3. Harrison Butker then kicked over a 50-yard field goal to make it 16-3. He then added a second field goal at the end of the first half to make it 19-3 Kansas City. However, there was some controversy at the end of the first half. So Cleveland had possession. It was probably the Browns' first real time of testing Kansas City in the first half, or even really the game at that point, as it saw Rashard Higgins stretching out to knock the pylon in the end zone. However, he was stopped millimetres from reaching it as a charging Daniel Sorensen came in from the side, knocked the Browns player out of bounds, and also managed to claim a fumble, which then rolled into the end zone and then rolled out of play. On first look, you just thought it was a very good tackle at denying the Browns, and the Browns had pretty much done a Browns thing of getting so far and then screwing it up. However, on the replay, it saw that Sorensen had used his head, almost like a battering ram, if you want to call it, to make Higgins, or get Higgins out of bounds. But because it was a helmet-to-helmet hit, by rights it should have been a penalty on Sorensen, and it should have given the Browns a first down at the 1-yard line. Now, after a lengthy review by the officials and commentators and pundits alike saying it was a helmet-to-helmet and it should have been a penalty, the officials chose not to award a penalty against Kansas City and literally just claimed a touchback and saw the Kansas City Chiefs going on to score from that resulting incident, from the resulting drive, I should say. And it was almost like rubbing salt into the wounds of the Browns. As we moved into the third quarter and the second half, it really saw kind of how would the Browns come out in the second half. Would they just give up the ghost and fall apart over what happened in the first half? Or would they do like they have quite a lot this season and just shown a bit of mettle and just fight their way back? So, it saw Jarvis Landry scoring on a 4-yard pass to get the Browns 10-19. But then came another incident in the game as a Mack Wilson hit on Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes being pretty much hit hard, but wasn't a dirty hit, as it was when after the play had finished and the whistle had blown, Mahomes stayed down, and then as the Kansas quarterback started to slowly make his way up, he then was very groggy to the point that he had to be grabbed by his teammates or he would have collapsed back down again. To which it was clear that he had took a hit to the head. So went to the the blue tent to be looked at, was pulled from the game, sustained a concussion. So that meant that backup quarterback in Chad Henne came in. Didn't particularly have the greatest of stats, you could say. He was trying his best to try and be as Mahomes-like, being mobile at least, but he just didn't have the... How can I put it? He didn't have the offensive aggressiveness of, say, Mahomes, but he was still a fairly decent quarterback for what they needed. Butker then converted on that resulting drive on a 33-yard field goal. That made it 22-10 in favour of Kansas City. From this point onwards, it kind of saw Cleveland gaining momentum. Kansas City were really on the ropes at this point. A touchdown by former Kansas City Chiefs player Kareem Hunt made it 22-17. And then as we got down to the 2-minute warning, it saw the home side on a 3rd and 14. Chad Henne then produced a 13-yard scramble, to which it did look like he'd picked up the first down to pretty much end the game, with the Browns burning, and I still don't know what they were doing with the timeouts. They pretty much blew all the timeouts on stupid things, barring one. So with 1:14 left to play, it saw the Chiefs on a 4th and 1, to which the commentators, Tony Romo, was saying that they should either try and get a jump, or if they don't, take the delay of game. However, Andy Reid, as always with his bag of tricks, produced probably the most gutsiest play call in this playoff so far, as it saw him having Henne throwing a pass out to Tyreek Hill to not just pick up the first down, but a fair bit of yardage as well, and more importantly, did not go out of play. Because if he'd gone out of play, it would have gave the Browns another chance at trying to stop the Chiefs. But because of Hill staying inbounds, the time ran out and saw the Chiefs heading to their second straight AFC title game. So, if we move across to the NFC side of things, we had pretty much the most one-sided of the divisional games, and that came at Lambeau Field between the Green Bay Packers and the LA Rams, in which it was pretty much Aaron Rodgers dissecting an opposition that didn't really put up much of a fight, in truth. So if we look at the scoring, the first quarter pretty much saw the teams trading field goals, with it being at 3 apiece. In the second quarter, it then saw the Packers really kind of moving up a gear, with a 1-yard pass from Rodgers to Davante Adams, who's pretty much been the most lethal duo this year in the NFL. That made it 10-3. Aaron Rodgers then went in for a short gain with a failed 2-point conversion, which pretty much seems to be the story of these playoffs, in fairness. The amount of 2-point conversions not being successful. But that made it 16-3. The Rams replied with a 4-yard pass from Van Jefferson to make it 10-16. Mason Crosby then kicked over a 39-yard field goal to make it 19-10. In fairness, from that point onwards, the Packers kind of just increased their leads. So in the third quarter, it saw Aaron Jones going in for a score. Another 2-point conversion failed at 25-10. Cam Akers then scored on a 7-yard run with for once, an actual 2-point conversion working, with Jared Goff finding Akers in the end zone to make it 25-18. However, in the fourth quarter, the game was firmly put to bed with an Alan Lazard 58-yard pass to make the Packers your winners and heading to the NFC Championship game with a 32-18 win. Looking at the quarterback stats, so you had Jared Goff, 174 yards, 1 touchdown. Compare that to Aaron Rodgers, who had 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, -3 yards, but did pick up a touchdown for himself. I've said it before, the Packers sadly are my tip to win the NFC side of things. The Packers just seem to be the most consistent side in the NFC. But then again, it's the postseason and anything can happen. But if we kind of bypass that slightly and move to the next game involving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints, news was filtering prior to this game that Drew Brees had announced that no matter what happens, this was going to be his final season in the NFL. So would he be able to extend his career in the NFL for another week at least? We will see. So a first quarter that saw the Saints taking a 6-0 lead thanks to 2 Will Lutz field goals. His first a 23-yard shot and a 42-yard field goal. Ryan Suckup then kicked over a 26-yard field goal to make it 6-3. Then came an interception. The first interception that Brees would throw in this game, as an intercepted pass by Murphy Bunting saw the Buccaneers grabbing possession, and from the resulting drive saw Mike Evans claiming a 3-yard pass to put the Bucs 10-6 ahead. The following drive then saw the Saints replying through Tre'Quan Smith on a 56-yard pass. From Jameis Winston, though, as they didn't have Taysom Hill in the lineup through injury, so that put the Saints 13-10 ahead. Suckup then kicked a field goal at the end of the first half to make it 13 apiece. And I think we pretty much expected a game that had Brady and Brees, the top two, well, the greatest 2 passers in the league. I think you kind of would have predicted it was going to be a tight game, and that's how it was for most of it, at least. So then you had Tre'Quan Smith going for a touchdown on a 16-yard pass to make it 20-13. Leonard Fournette then replied for the Buccaneers to tie the game at 20 apiece. That was on a 6-yard play. Then saw Suckup kicking a 36-yard field goal to make it 23-20. Then saw the second interception of Breeze in the game as a pass that was intended for Alvin Kamara popped up and saw White from Tampa Bay intercepting. And once again, from that resulting drive, Tom Brady went in for a 1-yard run to make it 30-20. And then in what was his final play as an NFL quarterback, Drew Brees tried everything to get his team back ahead, threw a deep pass intended for Jared Cook. Unfortunately, it was intercepted by Maurice Edwards for his third interception of the game. Not how Drew Brees or anyone would have expected his career to end. But yeah, the Buccaneers are your winners by 30 points to 20 and will take on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field this coming Sunday. Looking at the duo at quarterback, so you had Tom Brady, 199 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing score. For Drew Brees in his final game, he had 134 passing yards, touchdown, and unfortunately those 3 interceptions. It's been a great career that Brees has had. It's made even more so with all the injuries that he has suffered this season. With the 11 broken ribs, a apparent torn rotator cuff that his wife put out. He also suffered that lung injury as well against the 49ers that saw him breaking ribs. So he'd been playing with almost like a body armour thing to keep him going. And he really is one of the last bastions, if you want, of gritting it out from the old school. Not that today's quarterbacks aren't like that. But he kind of fits in with like the Ben Roethlisberger and the Brett Favres and things like that. Even the Peyton Mannings. You do think that he is a dead cert to go into the Hall of Fame one day. I mean, if he isn't a first round, or doesn't go in first round, there's something wrong, personally. But yeah, great career from Drew Brees, going from his time at the San Diego Chargers, then moving to the New Orleans Saints and winning a Super Bowl for a city that was in need of support and something to get the fans' spirits lifted after what had happened with Hurricane Katrina. He's done great work in the community there. He really is one player that the league will dearly miss. Yeah, it's just a sad day, because I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen his career at least getting to either an NFC Championship, NFC Championship game, or especially just reaching a Super Bowl. He doesn't have the rings of, say, a Brady or say some of the top stars in the game. But yeah, he is definitely a legend in the game, and he will be sadly missed, especially from one person that has been a big fan of his. But yeah, happy retirement to Drew Brees. So, as we come to Championship Sunday, we see the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, where seeds 1 and 2 meet. So I thought I'd do a little kind of stats thing. So I tried to compare the two quarterbacks in certain things at least. So the passing leaders this year in the league, Josh Allen is ranked 5th. Patrick Mahomes is ranked just behind it in 6th place. However, on touchdown passes, it sees Mahomes in 4th, with Allen a place behind in 5th. On interceptions thrown, Allen is ranked 13th with 10, while Patrick Mahomes is ranked 30th with 6 that he has thrown this season. The one that kind of surprised me a fair bit was the rushing yards by the two. Considering that Mahomes is always deemed as the most mobile quarterback in the league, maybe besides that of, say, Lamar Jackson or maybe a Herbert or others, Mahomes is ranked 72nd with 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen is ranked 48th and has 421 yards, which kind of surprised me, along with 8 touchdowns this season. So I think it's definitely going to come down to quarterbacks and how they throw the ball and how they can manipulate the field in this game. As much as people are looking at, say, Kelsey and Diggs, and even Tyreek Hill against Singletary and other Bills players and Beasley, I think it's more likely to come down to how the quarterbacks perform than pretty much anything. Defences are all fair and well, or fine and well even. And while they say defence wins championships, I think a very good quarterback can easily unlock one of the best defences. So I definitely feel it is going to be a case of which quarterback performs the best. Looking at the kind of head-to-heads between the two, so the Chiefs winning 26-17 against the Bills already this season at Arrowhead. This is kind of the Bills' toughest game at that point in the season. I mean, they would lose a couple more. Went on a bit of a skid. Something the Chiefs haven't really suffered for a while, in fairness. But you could say that them losses the Bills suffered has made them a stronger side for it. But, you know, we will see come Sunday, won't we? So, prior to last season, it had took the Kansas City side 27 years to reach an AFC Championship game, to which, as we know now, even won that and prevailed in the Super Bowl. However, moving a year now, 28 years ago, saw Kansas City facing the Buffalo Bills of all teams. Yes, all teams. I'm confusing myself, which isn't particularly difficult. So that's all the Bills and the Chiefs facing in 1993 in what was Buffalo's last AFC title game. And as we know, the Bills beat the Chiefs, lost out in the Super Bowl during one of their 4 straight AFC title wins that stretched from 1990 all the way to 1993, and have the worst... Well, I'll touch on that in a second. But the last time you go back to the Bills making an AFC title game and losing sees you going all the way back to 1988, where they lost out to the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, so it's going to be history anyhow. And just if you want to know, that game against Buffalo and Kansas from 93, it did see Buffalo winning 30-13, to which I think the Bills players, fans and franchise would happily take that this weekend. Their previous meetings, though, saw 1991, where Kansas lost to Buffalo 37-14, to which I think that was a divisional playoff game. And then the very first meeting between the two, as this is the third head-to-head in postseason play, came in 1966, where the Bills lost 31-7 and would see the Chiefs going on to lose to a potential Super Bowl opponent this year in the Green Bay Packers, in which was the first ever Super Bowl to have taken place. So there's a lots of history, I suppose you could say, regarding what could and couldn't happen. But one interesting stat I did come across was that all the playoff years and for Kansas, if you take away the Indianapolis Colts, that was formerly in the AFC East, if you take them out of the equation, then Kansas City against AFC East sides in the playoffs, they are 2-8. And the only wins that they have had have come against tri-state teams, that being the Bills in 66 and the New York Jets fairly soon after. However, they have lost the last 8 meetings against all AFC East opponents. So let's see if that streak continues or not. I mean, the game itself, I'm looking more forward to this one than what everyone is getting hyped up for Rodgers and Brady. But I think this one could arguably be... I think if the Bills win this game, I think it gives them the confidence to go on to win. I think if the Chiefs win, I think the problem with the Chiefs this season is they haven't faced anyone of note, really. I mean, they lost to the Raiders because I think they were too overconfident. And I think they were just potentially a bit arrogant in thinking that they would beat the Raiders, who at that point wasn't doing that well. I mean, the other loss they had against the Chargers, I'm not even talking about that one, mainly due to the fact that they'd rested a few of the team and they really truly couldn't give a damn about that game. But yeah, it should be a very entertaining game, which I am definitely looking forward to. Moving to Lambeau and home of the Green Bay Packers. They take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for only the second time in postseason history, as the previous meeting came back in 1997 and saw the Packers running out 21-7 victors, as it saw the quarterbacks back then being Brett Favre, the Packers legend, and Trent Dilfer, who was the Buccaneers quarterback at that time, to which I seem to think was when they played in their old orange and white uniforms, which is still a darn sight better than what they're in now. The previous game between the sides came in week 6 of this season. That came at the home of this year's Super Bowl in Tampa, as the Bucs inflicted the biggest loss on the Packers that they had all season, with a 38-10 win. A game where Rodgers had a nightmare. The Packers' defense didn't turn up. Pretty much neither did their offense. One that you say a bad day at the office, and one that you do feel that the Packers will want to kind of put straight in this game. So I was trying to think of the last team, or the last time the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Packers with Rodgers as quarterback. So you have to go all the way back to 2009 for that, and was actually the Buccaneers' first round pick of the 2009 draft, as their 17th overall pick in the 2009 draft in Josh Freeman. It was also the same year as that of Matthew Stafford, who recently, in the last 24 hours, has been told that by the Detroit Lions that he is surplus to requirements. And also the Mr. Butt Fumbler in Mark Sanchez, who was picked by the Jets that year. A slightly eerie kind of, I won't say eerie as such, that's probably the wrong term. But the last time that the Buccaneers beat the Packers was the same points total that they beat the Packers this year, with that magical 38-point bracket. So, yeah, I thought it was an interesting stat. You might not, but that's me. That's just me. However, to look for the last time that the Buccaneers won in Wisconsin, then you have to go further back to 2005, when a former Chicago Bear in Brian Griese threw for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, as well as an interception. However, he did get the best of Packers legend Brett Favre, who threw for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, but more importantly in that game, threw for 3 interceptions, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run out 17-16 winners at Lambeau Field. Would you bet against the Buccaneers winning this year? No. Could they win this year? Yes. Do I think that they will beat Green Bay in this game? No. Personally. Or maybe it's just because I do not want to see Brady win another championship. As I think most people, I will rephrase that. Even as a Bear, I will happily take them to get to the Super Bowl, but I will not want the Packers to win the Super Bowl. Just let me state that now. But yeah, it's I think it will come down to quarterbacks again. It is a case of I don't think both defenses are that great. Although the Packers have improved defensively, Tampa Bay still looks a bit ropey, I feel, in defence. That said, they could cause them troubles, as we saw in Week 6. So it is not beyond the realms of possibility that the Buccaneers could... Well, it wouldn't be a surprise, but they could pull off a slight shock in what is deemed to be a... Well, according to Alexa, at least, is due for snow. And, I mean, we all love a good snow game in the NFL. But much like Good Morning Football went on about the other day, could Brady play in the snow? He actually has a decent record of playing in the snow. Of course, with arguably the most memorable game being that of the AFC title in 2001, I think it was, against the Oakland Raiders, where you had the tuck rule game, as it's now referred to, where he lost the ball in the snow as his arm was deemed to have gone forwards. John Gruden still hasn't got over that. But yeah, it's... If the Bills and the Chiefs game is one of excitement for what could happen, I think Green Bay and Tampa Bay is going to be more of the purest game, in truth. But that's just me. So I think that pretty much brings an end to this episode. Next week we will obviously talk about what happened in the games. I will try and give you a bit of an update on the comings and goings, coaches wise. But as it is, thank you for listening or watching. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Good luck to your teams if they are still in. If not, just enjoy the football. And hopefully, everyone stays safe. And from me, Peter Brads, it's a good night.